The numbers didn't make sense. I blinked hard, refreshed the browser, and checked again. Where there should have been 847,632 teens, 3 years of dedicated fundraising, corporate matching, and careful investment, there was 12.46. My name is Susan, and in that moment, my entire world started to crumble. There has to be a mistake, I muttered, dialing the bank's fraud department with trembling fingers. But deep down, I already knew. The withdrawal had come from an authorized user, someone with full access to the BrightRise Scholarship Fund's accounts, someone in my family. I drove to my parents' house in a daze, my Tesla on autopilot, while my mind raced through possibilities. Maybe Dad had moved the money to a different investment vehicle. Maybe there was some tax reason I didn't understand. Maybe... The front door was unlocked. Inside, Summer sprawled across the cream leather sofa, surrounded by shopping bags from Gucci and Louis Vuitton. She barely glanced up from her phone. "Oh, hey, didn't expect to see you here," she said, tapping away at Instagram. "Mom and Dad are in the study." I found them exactly where she said, Mom arranging fresh peonies, while Dad pretended to read the Wall Street Journal. They looked up with practiced smiles that didn't quite reach their eyes. "The money's gone," I said flatly. "All of it. What did you do?" Mom's smile didn't waver. "Darling, we needed to make an executive decision. Summer has this incredible opportunity." Opportunity! My voice cracked. That money was for scholarships, for girls who can't afford college. We had 15 candidates lined up for next semester. "And they'll have to wait," Dad finally spoke, folding his newspaper with deliberate precision. "Summer needs to find herself. Europe, art courses, cultural immersion. It's vital for her development right now." "You're joking." But they weren't. The reality hit me like a physical blow. "You stole almost $1 million from underprivileged students to fund Summer's vacation." "Don't be dramatic," Mum sighed. "The foundation bylaws clearly state that funds can be reallocated by the board. We are the board, and frankly, Susan, you're strong enough to rebuild. Summer needs this now." "Strong enough to rebuild?" I echoed. The words felt like poison in my mouth. "Exactly," Mum brightened. "You're so capable, darling. You'll have it back up and running in no time. Summer needs this chance to spread her wings, find her muse. While actual talented students lose their shot at an education?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Do you even care about anyone besides Summer?" "That's enough." Dad's voice turned stern. "We've made our decision. Summer leaves for Paris next week. The money's been spent. End of discussion." I looked between them. Mom arranging flowers like nothing was wrong. Dad hiding behind his paper again. Through the door, I could hear Summer giggling at something on her phone. "You're right," I said quietly. "End of discussion. End of everything." I walked out of that study, past Summer and her shopping bags, through the front door I'd entered so hopefully just minutes before. Behind me, Mum called out something about Sunday brunch, as if we'd just had a minor disagreement about table settings. In my car, I pulled up my phone and dialed my friend Maren. She picked up on the second ring. "I need a lawyer," I said, "one who specializes in non-profit law, and I need to know how to start over from absolute zero." "Susan, what happened?" "They took it all," I said, surprised by how steady my voice was. "Every penny of the scholarship fund. Gave it to Summer for a European art tour." The silence on the other end was deafening. "I'll send you some names," Maren finally said. "And Susan, I'm so sorry." "Don't be," I replied, starting the engine. "I'm done being the responsible one. Done being the backup plan. Done being strong enough to rebuild their messes." As I pulled away from my parents' house, I deleted their numbers from my phone. It wasn't much, but it was a start. They wanted me to rebuild? Fine. But this time, I'd build something they couldn't touch, something they couldn't steal, something that would make them regret ever underestimating me. 6 months into my self-imposed exile, I was living in a studio apartment that made my college dorm look luxurious. My Tesla was gone, replaced by a bus pass. But I had something better. Freedom. And that's how we can use simple coding principles to revolutionize your school projects, I finished, addressing the small group of high school girls gathered in the community center. Their eyes sparkled with possibilities I recognized all too well. As they packed up their laptops, one of them lingered. "Miss Susan? Will you be teaching next week too?" "Every Tuesday and Thursday," I smiled. "Bring your friends." The free coding workshops weren't much, but they were a start. During the day, I worked as a mid-level programmer at a startup, keeping my head down and saving every penny I could. At night, I rebuilt my dream from scratch. My phone buzzed. Another email from Mom. I deleted it without reading, just like all the others. Instead, I opened Instagram, knowing I shouldn't. Summer's latest post showed her posing in front of the Colosseum, caption reading, "Finally unlocking my creative soul. Art is about the journey, not the destination. Blessed finding, my muse, I'm living my best life." "That's quite a journey someone else paid for," a voice behind me said. I spun around to find a tall man in his late 30s leaning against the doorframe. He wore a Google t-shirt and had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "I'm Diego," he said. "I heard your presentation. Pretty impressive stuff." "Thanks, but it's just basic coding tutorials." "No, it's not." He pulled up a chair. "I did some research after seeing your name on the conference schedule. You're the Brightrise founder, aren't you?" My throat tightened. "Was. That project is dead." "Projects don't die," Diego said. "They evolve. Tell me what happened." Maybe it was his direct approach, or maybe I was just tired of carrying the secret alone. I told him everything. "So, now I'm starting over," I finished. "Small scale, under the radar." Diego was quiet for a moment. "What if you didn't have to be under the radar?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm heading up Google's new education initiative. We're looking for grassroots programs to partner with. Real people doing real work, not just fancy foundations with good PR." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Marin. "Call me ASAP. Found a legal loophole." 20 minutes later, I was conference calling with both of them from my tiny apartment. "The original foundation's gone," Marin explained, "but there's nothing stopping you from creating a new entity. Complete separation. Different name, different structure. They can't touch it." "And Google could provide initial backing," Diego added. "Plus workspace, resources, mentorship." "Wait," I held up my hand. "This feels too good to be true." "It's not charity," Diego said firmly. "We need people like you, the girls you teach. They're our future talent pipeline. This is investment, not handouts." My laptop pinged. Another summer post. "Art is about spending daddy's money. Just kidding? Not really." Blessed. Something hardened in my chest. "Okay," I said. "Let's do this. But I have conditions." "Name them," Diego said. "Complete autonomy. No family involvement. And we focus on girls who really need it. Not trust fund kids looking for resume padding." "Done," Diego and Marin said in unison. That night, I couldn't sleep. I drafted proposals until dawn, mapping out a new vision. Not just scholarships this time, but mentorship, internships, real pathways to success. Everything I wished I'd had. My phone lit up with a text from Mum. "Darling, Summer's art is being featured in a small gallery in Rome. Isn't that wonderful? When will you stop this silly silence and celebrate with us?" I blocked her number. "Watch me," I whispered to my empty apartment. "Watch me build something you can't steal." The sun was rising over the city, painting the sky in shades of possibility. I had meetings to schedule, paperwork to file, and a new dream to build. But this time, I wasn't building it for them. I was building it for every girl who needed someone to believe in her. And maybe, just a little bit, I was building it for myself. Miss Susan? The voice was unfamiliar, but the face that appeared in my office doorway wasn't. Even after 2 years, I recognized her instantly. Scarlett? I stood up so quickly I knocked over my coffee. What are you doing here? She stepped inside, clutching an envelope to her chest. The shy 15-year-old I remembered had grown into a confident young woman. I got in, she said, holding out the envelope. MIT. Full ride. My hands shook as I took the acceptance letter. Scarlett had been one of our original scholarship candidates, before everything fell apart. I never got to thank you, she continued. Those coding workshops you ran, they changed my life. I kept practicing, built my own projects, and well, she gestured to the letter. Here we are. I blinked back tears. Sit down. Tell me everything. For the next hour, Scarlett shared her journey. How she'd taught coding to other girls at her high school. How she'd won state competitions. How she'd never forgotten what I told her about women in tech supporting each other. My phone buzzed halfway through her story. A news alert. Socialite Summer Richardson to release travel memoir. Finding my muse in Europe's hidden corners. Is something wrong? Scarlett asked. I showed her the article. My father's using his connections to shop this book around. They're even referencing the original Bright Rise Fund as part of her philanthropic background. Scarlett's expression hardened. That's not right. They can't just steal your story like that. They've been doing it my whole life. I closed the article. But you know what? Maybe it's time to tell the real story. That evening, I met Diego at our usual coffee spot. He'd become more than a mentor over the past 2 years, though neither of us had put a label on it yet. You want to go public? He asked after I explained my plan. Are you sure? Scarlett made me realize something. By staying quiet, I'm letting them control the narrative. What if there are other girls out there who need to hear the truth? Diego stirred his coffee thoughtfully. The tech blogs would run with it. Privileged family drains scholarship fund for European vacation. It's the kind of story that goes viral. It's not about revenge, I insisted. It's about accountability. About showing girls like Scarlett that their dreams matter more than someone else's finding themselves tour. I know. Diego reached across the table and squeezed my hand. That's why you should do it. The next morning, I gave my first interview to a prominent tech journalist. I told her everything. The theft, the betrayal, the rebuilding. By afternoon, the story was everywhere. Holy shit, Marin texted. Have you seen Twitter? I had. Bright Rise betrayal was trending. Summer had already made her Instagram private. My inbox was flooded with messages from other women sharing similar stories of family betrayal and financial abuse. Then came the email that changed everything. Dear Ms. Richardson, your story caught our attention. The Global Innovation Challenge is looking for leaders who demonstrate resilience and vision in the tech education space. We would be honored to have you compete for this year's grant. Best regards, the GIC Selection Committee. I read it 3 times before calling Diego. This is huge, he said immediately. The GIC is like the Olympics of tech philanthropy. The exposure alone would be worth millions for the new foundation. There's more, I said, scrolling through the committee list. One of the judges is Nolan Shepard. The billionaire tech pioneer? The one your parents are obsessed with? The same one they've been trying to get into their social circle for decades. I laughed, but it wasn't entirely bitter. Funny how life works out sometimes. That night, I found an old photo of my family in my desk drawer. We were all smiling, Summer front and center as always, me slightly out of frame. I pinned it to my bulletin board, not as a reminder of what I'd lost, but of what I was building. My phone lit up with a text from Scarlett. "You're trending! Does this mean I get to say I knew you before you were famous?" This time, my laugh was genuine. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting better. "Just be yourself," Diego said, straightening my blazer collar. "You've got this." The Global Innovation Challenge interview room felt impossibly large. 5 judges sat before me, including Nolan Shepherd himself. He looked exactly like his magazine covers. Silver-haired, sharp-eyed, radiating the quiet confidence of someone who'd revolutionized modern computing. "Ms. Susan," he began, "your application is unusual. Most candidates focus on their successes. You began with a failure." "Not my failure," I corrected, meeting his gaze. "My foundation was stolen, but what matters isn't the theft, it's what happened next." For the next 20 minutes, I walked them through the new Bright Rise initiative, the coding workshops, the mentorship program, the partnership with Google, the girls we'd helped. "And you did all this without family support?" one judge asked. "I did it because of their lack of support," I replied. "Every girl we help proves them wrong." Nolan leaned forward. "Your sister's book is getting considerable attention. Finding My Muse. I believe that's the title." My stomach clenched. "The muse she found with stolen scholarship money?" "Yes, I'm aware." "Good answer," he said, and I swore I saw him smile. Outside the interview room, Diego was waiting. "How did it—" My phone exploded with notifications before he could finish. Summer had just posted for the first time since the scandal broke. "Back in NYC. Can't wait to share my creative journey with everyone. Book signing dates coming soon. Finding My Muse. Artistic Soul." "She's back," I muttered. "And perfectly timed," Marin said, appearing with her laptop. "Look at this." She showed me an email from a reporter, seeking comment on Summer Richardson's claims that the European trip was a prearranged agreement between sisters. "She's trying to rewrite history," I said. "Again." "What are you going to do?" Diego asked. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Susan speaking. This is Nolan Shepherd's office. He'd like to meet with you privately. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. The next morning, I sat in Nolan's penthouse office, trying not to feel overwhelmed by the Manhattan skyline behind him. "I'll be direct," he said. "You're a finalist for the challenge, but that's not why I called you here." He slid a tablet across his desk. On it was an invitation to the Global STEM Summit, the most prestigious tech conference in the world. "We need keynote speakers who represent real change," he continued. "Not just success stories, but stories of resilience, of fighting back against systemic barriers." My hands trembled slightly. "You want me to speak? I want you to tell your truth. All of it." He paused. "Your parents have been trying to get an invitation to this event for years, by the way. They finally managed it through some board connections." Of course they had. They'd never miss a chance to network with someone like Nolan. "Does that change your decision?" he asked. "No," I said firmly. "It makes it easier." Back at the office, I found an elegant cream envelope on my desk. Inside was an invitation to Sunday brunch, my mother's handwriting as perfect as ever. "Darling, let's put this unfortunate situation behind us. Summer's book launch is coming up, and family should stick together, just like old times. Love, Mum." Diego found me staring at it an hour later. "You okay?" "They still don't get it," I said. "They think this is just another family spat, that I'll come crawling back because that's what I've always done. So show them they're wrong." He took the invitation and ripped it in half. "Show them at the summit. Show everyone." My phone buzzed with a text from Scarlett. "Saw your sister's book promotion. Need someone to throw tomatoes at the signing?" I laughed despite everything. No tomatoes needed, I typed back. I've got something better planned. That night, I drafted my summit speech until dawn. Not a word about family or betrayal, but about rising above, about building something unbreakable, about turning pain into purpose. Let them come to the summit. Let them sit in the audience. Let them watch what their strong daughter built from the ashes of their betrayal. This time, I wouldn't be the one shrinking into the background of someone else's story. Tech's Rising Phoenix: How One Woman Turned Family Betrayal into Educational Empire. The headline of TechCrunch's feature article stared back at me from my laptop screen. The story had gone viral overnight, sparking heated discussions about privilege, philanthropy, and family dynamics. "Your phone's been buzzing for an hour," Diego said, sliding a fresh coffee across my desk. "Everything okay?" I showed him the latest text from Summer. "Can we talk? Just us sisters? I can explain everything." "Delete," I said, hitting the button, "like I've done with the other 12 messages." "Ms. Susan?" My assistant poked her head in. "There's a situation downstairs. Your mother's in the lobby." I felt my chest tighten. "How did she—" "The Metropolitan Women's Society Gala," Diego reminded me gently. "You're being honored tonight. It was in the press release." Right. The irony wasn't lost on me. It was exactly the kind of event my mother had always wanted me to shine at. Just not like this. Not on my own terms. I took the elevator down. Mum stood in her designer suit, perfectly coiffed as always, examining the Bright Rise mission statement on our lobby wall. "Darling," she said, turning with a practiced smile, "you've done so well for yourself. We're all so proud." "Stop." My voice was quiet but firm. "Why are you here? Can't a mother congratulate her daughter? You're being honored tonight. Front page news. Summer's book launch is next week. We should coordinate, make it a family celebration." "A family celebration?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my ears. "Like how you celebrated stealing my foundation's money." "That's all in the past," she waved dismissively. "You've clearly landed on your feet. And now, with all this publicity, that's why you're really here, isn't it?" The realization hit me. The publicity. You want to be seen supporting me now that I'm successful. Her smile faltered slightly. "Don't be dramatic, darling. Family is family." "No," I said. "Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't destroy dreams and call it reallocation. Family doesn't—" "Ms. Susan?" My assistant interrupted. "Nolan Shepherd is on line 1. About the summit guest list." Mom's eyes lit up at Nolan's name. Of course they did. "Tell him I'll call back," I said, not breaking eye contact with my mother. "I'm dealing with an unauthorized visitor." "Unauthorized?" Mom looked genuinely shocked. "I'm your mother. And I'm no longer the daughter who lets you walk all over her." I nodded to security. "Please escort her out." That evening at the gala, I wore a simple black dress, nothing like the elaborate gowns Mom used to insist on. Diego was my +1, his hand steady on my back as photographers called my name. "Susan!" A familiar voice cut through the crowd. "Over here!" I turned to see Scarlett, wearing a press badge. "You're covering this?" "School newspaper," she grinned. "MIT's interested in your story. Mind if I ask a few questions?" As we talked, I spotted my mother across the room watching. She'd managed to wrangle an invitation somehow. She always did. But this time, she was the one on the outside looking in. "One last question," Scarlett said. "What would you tell other girls facing similar family situations?" I thought about Summer's book launch invitation sitting unopened on my desk, about Mom's attempts to rewrite our history, about Dad's silence. I'd tell them that sometimes the family you choose is more important than the family you're born into, I said, looking directly at the cameras. And that success is the best revenge. Later that night, as Diego and I shared a quiet dinner, my phone lit up with a message from Nolan. Summit guest list finalized. Your parents and sister are confirmed attendees. How would you like to handle seating arrangements? I typed back. Put them in the back, where they can see everything they lost. Harsh, Diego commented, reading over my shoulder. No, I said, thinking of all the girls like Scarlett who would be watching. Just honest. The city lights twinkled outside, and somewhere in those streets, my family was probably plotting their next move, but for the first time, I didn't care. I had built something they couldn't touch, couldn't steal, couldn't diminish, and in 2 weeks, at the summit, they would finally understand exactly what that meant. The summit venue glittered like a crystal palace. Tech royalty, business titans, and media elite filled the grand hall, their excited chatter echoing off marble walls. I stood backstage, adjusting my microphone, trying not to think about who was sitting in the audience. 5 minutes, the stage manager called. Diego appeared with a cup of tea. I just did a walkthrough. They're in the back, row 23. Summer's wearing red, impossible to miss. Of course she is, I muttered, trying to steal attention until the very end. Hey, he took my shoulders. This is your moment. Don't let them steal another second of it. Nolan approached, tablet in hand. Ready? Almost. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo Scarlett had sent earlier. A group of high school girls wearing Bright Rise t-shirts, coding at their laptops. Now I'm ready. Good. Nolan's eyes twinkled. Because I made a few last-minute adjustments to the program. Before I could ask what he meant, the lights dimmed. His voice boomed through the speakers. Welcome to the Global STEM Summit. Our opening keynote speaker turned personal tragedy into triumph, proving that true innovation often comes from our deepest wounds. I walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. Under the bright lights, the audience was a blur, except for row 23, where 3 familiar figures sat perfectly still. 3 years ago, I began. I thought I knew what family meant. I thought I knew what loyalty meant. I was wrong. The room fell silent. I built a foundation to help girls achieve their dreams in tech. And then I watched as my own family drained every penny to fund a European vacation. They told me I was strong enough to rebuild. They were right, but not in the way they meant. In the back, I saw Summer shift uncomfortably. This isn't a story about betrayal. It's a story about what we build from our broken pieces. Every girl who's been told to dim her light for someone else's shine, this is for you. Every woman who's been called difficult for demanding what's rightfully hers, this is for you. The screens behind me filled with faces, girls from our programs, their success stories scrolling past. We've funded 57 scholarships, launched 12 startups, created a mentorship network spanning 3 continents, and we did it without stealing, without lying, without stepping on anyone else's dreams. Mom's perfect posture had crumpled slightly. Dad stared at his shoes. But the best part, I continued, my voice stronger now. We're just getting started. Today, I'm announcing the Bright Rise Global Initiative. With support from the Shepherd Foundation, we're expanding to 20 new countries. Gasps rippled through the audience. This was the moment Nolan had planned, the surprise announcement that would change everything. Because success isn't about finding your muse in European cafes, I said, looking directly at Summer. It's about lifting others while you climb. It's about turning pain into purpose. And sometimes, it's about letting go of the people who never deserved to be part of your story. The applause was deafening. As I left the stage, I caught a glimpse of my family standing, probably planning to intercept me at the exit. But Nolan was already there, steering me toward a private reception area. Brilliant, he said. Absolutely brilliant, and perfect timing. The press is already running with the expansion announcement. My phone buzzed with messages. Scarlett had live tweeted the whole thing. Watching my mentor, I'm Susan Brightrise, destroyed generational trauma while building global empire is giving me life. Susan! Mom's voice carried across the room. They'd found me, all three of them, Summer's red dress like a warning signal. But before they could reach me, Nolan stepped forward. I believe you're in the wrong section. This area is for speakers and board members only. But we're family, Summer protested, reaching for my arm. I stepped back, watching their faces fall as reality finally sank in. They weren't part of this world I'd built. They had no power here. No, I said quietly. You're not family. You're just people I used to know. The security team appeared, quietly but firmly escorting them toward the general reception area. As they disappeared into the crowd, I felt something shift inside me. Not closure exactly, but freedom. Ready for the press conference? Nolan asked. I smiled, thinking of all the girls watching, all the dreams still waiting to be built. More than ready. Let's change some lives. The press conference room buzzed with energy. Camera flashes popped like lightning as I took my seat beside Nolan at the long table. Diego stood at the back, giving me a subtle thumbs up. Ms. Susan, a reporter called out. Your speech mentioned family betrayal. Your sister's book tells a different story. Can you address the discrepancy? Before I could answer, the door burst open. Summer swept in, still in her red dress, Mom and Dad trailing behind her. I can address that, Summer announced, her voice carrying across the room. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. This is a closed press conference, Nolan interrupted smoothly. Security? Please. Mom stepped forward, her perfect mask cracking. Susan, darling, we need to talk. To explain. Your father and I, we only wanted... To apologize? I finished, my voice ice cold. Or to get your picture taken with Nolan Shepherd. The reporters' heads swiveled between us like they were watching a tennis match. Phones recorded everything. Both, Dad admitted, speaking for the first time. We were wrong. We see that now. But you're our daughter. Was, I corrected. I was your daughter. Until you decided Summer's Instagram aesthetic was worth more than 50 girls' education. Summer flinched. That's not fair. I didn't know where the money came from. Really? I pulled out my phone, opened her old posts. Let me quote. Art is about spending Daddy's money. Just kidding. Not really. Seems like you knew exactly what you were doing. The room had gone deadly quiet. Even the cameras had stopped flashing. Security! Nolan called again, more firmly this time. 2 guards appeared, but Summer wasn't finished. You can't just erase us. We're your family. We made you strong. No, a new voice cut in. She made herself strong. Scarlett stood up from the press section, press badge glinting. I was one of the original scholarship candidates. When the fund was drained, I almost lost my shot at college. But Ms. Susan rebuilt everything from nothing. She taught coding classes after working full-time. She mentored girls on weekends. She didn't need you to make her strong. She needed you to get out of her way. Mum's face had gone pale. But surely now, with all this success... That's exactly it, I said, standing up. You only want back in because I'm successful, because I have something you want. But here's the thing, you can't steal this from me. You can't drain this account. You can't redirect these funds to Summer's next spiritual journey. The guards had reached them now. Summer tried one last time. But we're sorry. Isn't that enough? Sorry doesn't rebuild a foundation, I replied. Sorry doesn't fund scholarships. Sorry doesn't undo what you did. And sorry definitely doesn't buy you a place in my life now. As security led them away, Mom called out, We'll be at the gala dinner tonight. We can talk then. I turned to Nolan. Will they? He smiled that knowing smile. Their invitations have been revoked. Apparently there was a problem with their credentials. The press erupted with questions, but I held up my hand. Today isn't about family drama. It's about the 57 girls who got their shot at education. It's about the hundreds more who will get their chance through our global expansion. That's the only story that matters. Later, as the conference wound down, Diego found me in the green room. You okay? Better than okay, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. I feel free. My phone buzzed with a notification. Summer had posted again. Family is everything, hoping my sister remembers that soon. Family first. Forgiveness. I showed it to Diego, laughing. She still doesn't get it. None of them do. What are you going to do? I thought about the girls waiting for their chance, about Scarlett standing up for me, about all the dreams still waiting to be built. Nothing, I said, blocking Summer's account. They're not my story anymore. They never really were. Outside, the evening was settling over the city. Somewhere in those streets, my former family was probably plotting their next attempt at reconciliation. But up here, in this moment, none of that mattered. I had built something unbreakable, something true, something that would outlast all their pretty lies. And that was worth more than any family fortune. The autumn breeze carried the sound of laughter across the park. I sat on my favorite bench, watching a group of girls hunched over laptops at the picnic tables, their bright Rise t-shirts bright against the falling leaves. Look what I made, one of them called out, turning her screen to show a simple but working game she'd coded. Ms. Susan? My assistant approached with a courier package. This just arrived, marked urgent. I recognized the expensive cream paper immediately. Inside was a photo album and a letter in my mother's flowing script. Dearest Susan, Summer's book tour was cancelled. The publishers pulled out after everything. Your father and I have been doing a lot of thinking. Looking through these old photos made me realize how much we failed you. How we always pushed you aside for Summer. We were wrong, so terribly wrong. Please, give us one more chance. Let us be part of your success. All our love, Mom. Everything okay? Scarlett asked, dropping onto the bench beside me. She'd grown into her role as Bright Rise's youth ambassador beautifully. Just ghosts, I said, closing the album without opening it. How's the new coding group doing? Amazing. And wait till you meet Maria. She reminds me so much of myself when you first found me. A young girl approached us shyly, laptop clutched to her chest. Ms. Susan, I got stuck on the loop sequence. Show me, I said, patting the bench beside me. As I helped Maria debug her code, Diego appeared with coffee. He'd finally asked me to move in with him last week, not into some luxury penthouse, but into a cozy apartment near the community center where I'd started rebuilding my dreams. Package from your mum? He asked, noticing the album. Doesn't matter, I said, focusing on Maria's screen. See here? This is where your code needs an exit condition. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Summer Richardson announces mental health break, cancels public appearances. I deleted it without reading further. Miss Susan. Maria looked up at me. My parents. They think coding is a waste of time for girls. They want me to study something more suitable. What do you want to study? This, she said firmly. I want to build things, create things, make a difference. I thought about the album sitting unopened beside me, about all the times I'd been told to be smaller, quieter, more suitable. Then that's what you'll do, I said. Sometimes the hardest part isn't learning to code. It's learning to believe in yourself when others don't. Like you did? Scarlett asked softly. Like we all do. I stood up, picking up the album. Watch this. I walked to the nearby trash can and dropped it in. The thud felt like punctuation, the final period at the end of a long, complicated sentence. Back at the bench, Maria's code was running perfectly. Her face lit up with pride as her program executed without errors. "I did it!" "You did," I smiled. "And this is just the beginning." Diego squeezed my hand. "Speaking of beginnings, should we tell them?" I nodded. Bright Rise is opening its first dedicated campus, full scholarship program, dorms, everything. Maria, how would you like to be part of our first class? Her eyes widened. Really? Really, Scarlett confirmed, and I'll be teaching some of the courses. As Maria hugged me, crying with joy, I caught sight of a familiar figure at the park's entrance. Mom, standing alone, watching. Our eyes met briefly across the distance. I turned back to Maria, to Scarlett, to the future we were building. Mum could stand there all day if she wanted. She wasn't part of this story anymore. "Okay, everyone," I called out to the coding group. "Who wants to learn about recursive functions?" The girls gathered around eagerly, their excitement infectious. This was my real family, not bound by blood or obligation, but by shared dreams and mutual support. I didn't need to look back to know Mom had left. I didn't need to open her letters or read Summer's posts or seek Dad's approval. I had built something better than revenge. I had built a legacy, and that was all the closure I needed.